All right, I'm just getting things lined up here on the floor. Figured I'd try to do this video separate because some people like to watch this kind of stuff. So I bought that fancy tool a while ago, and it's got a bunch of mathematical formulas to figure out your depth. But I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna try something and see if it's gonna work. I'll put this light on too. Theoretically, that pinion depth was set up with the shim. So if I put the old pinion in with the shim, measure that depth, and then put the new one in, and then measure till I get to that depth, that should give me a good starting point. Because really what that tool does is that it goes in there, and you stick your caliper in that hole in the side, and you measure the depth down to there. So if I measure it with the shim it had, put the new one in, figure out till I get that depth. I definitely think that might work, but today's a strange day. The forest fire smoke is really bad today. It's supposed to be like 36 degrees, but I don't know if we're gonna get that temperature because the sun's not out, which might be a good thing, but sure is muggy and gross. What I need to do right now is I gotta take these bearings, clean them, and then I'm gonna use some gear oil to lightly oil them so we'll get a good reading. These have been sitting around for the past year, so who knows what the heck's in them. These blue shop towels are really good, but pretty expensive as well. Take some gear oil. Just gonna pour some down onto the rollers just a little bit. So I got my shim on there. I got my setup bearing. Gonna come to here. Perfect. So the key thing is to not knock it over. Get out a bit. Stick it down there flush. Lock it in place. So now, might as well start setting everything up. I should have about 8 to 16 inch-pounds rolling resistance. And it looks like, give or take. I'm sweating my bag off. I just wasted a bunch of time for nothing. I had an idea. Proved out it didn't work though. So I'm just gonna do it the old-fashioned way like I've always done. Just start off with the same size shim as that one had. Assemble it, see where I'm at, go from there, but it's too hot for this crap. 35 degrees today. Hot, humid, smoke, gross. Do you see a kill? So now back to here. So I'm gonna assemble it on the table. Be easier instead of kneeling on the ground. Get everything set up. Hopefully the table doesn't decide wants to collapse. Now I'm gonna do the old tried true method that I've always done. Just gonna measure the old shim. I got the old spacers as reference. Make sure my caliper's zeroed out. Actually, that one there's like a, measures up like a 6 right there. Yeah, 5. That's close to 10. All right. Still got a long ways to go. Rubber mallet here. So the rolling resistance Now bearing caps, we talked about that earlier. I just put a little tiny match mark there and there. Then up at the shoulder there and there. Just kind of reference, because these are machined for each side. You don't want to mix them up. Mixing them up would not end well for you. Got the old shims right there. Pinion is put in, tightened down. Gonna grab my carrier here, but of course, as always, you need to put some oil on the bearings. Gonna get that thicker one in there. See if I get this other one in there. Just bumping the head. That backlash might be too big yet, but I need to put the bearing caps in. See, I tried to use the original shims. They appeared to be too big. I had 2.270 was the biggest or the smallest out of the factory, so I went 0.250. So I got like a 1/4 inch here and a little bigger there. Got it in. I gotta put the caps in and then go about measuring the backlash. After it's tight, give it a bang with my mallet. Spin it around. All right, get the dial indicator set up. For starting reference, the backlash is supposed to be between 0.008 and 0.0012. I'm at 0.005. My backlash is too tight, but I need to know where my pinion is sitting. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to mark the gears and rotate them around. That's going to tell me if my pinion is too deep or too shallow. And if that's going to determine how I'm going to shuffle shims around to guess at my proper pinion depth. I still got lots for when I did the JK differential, so I'm going to use up as much of that as I can before I dig into the new stuff if I don't need to. All right. I think I'm gonna move the pinion in just a little bit, set up the proper backlash, and then see where we sit. It's only torqued down to 80 foot-pounds. Should have came out pretty easy. Okay. What was I running? That was 2.5. So I moved the pinion depth in deeper. So I removed 0.010 from here, moved it over there. All right. Hopefully one more time and we'll have this licked. I don't know if you noticed, but I don't know if those were plug welds for the axle or what, but that's typically the spot where the case spreader would go. It looks like they're plugged, but when I look at it, it may not have been designed for that. Not quite. Not quite. I'm kind of not really centered yet. I think I'll move that pinion a little deeper. All right. What do I got for preload? Doing that kind of sets the bearings. Let's repaint these. All right, for the last 4 hours, I haven't even touched the camera because this has been in and out a million times. Not having any luck. Gonna shut her down, walk away, come back later, another day before I start smashing shit. Okay, it's been a few days. I am now back in the garage. Took a little bit of time off. Sometimes when you're working on a project and you're frustrated and you're angry, sometimes you just need to walk away. That's what I did in this situation. Plus, I was going on a little adventure that you guys will see shortly. And let's try to figure this out now. This combination, this has been one tricky situation, but we're gonna see if we can figure this out. So starting over, I decided I was going to use that tool I bought and figure it out, which I should just did the first time. So I'm just getting all the measurements down on the board, and it's going to give me my shim, which actually I was really close before I shut it down the previous day. For that, there probably is a technique for that pinion. It seemed like I'm inching myself forward here. There. It's almost going to go off the blocks there. And that wasn't going to end well. I tried Googling what that pinion number meant, but it didn't make any sense to me. So my backlash was right at the tail end. So using the pinion measuring tool got me close. I'm a little deep on the pinion. I'd like to try to come out just a little bit. Got my shim pack. Put the bearing in. Feed that back in. So I went from 0.05 to 0.045, and I am liking the pattern a lot better. See where it's transferred off over there. So my backlash is on the thicker end, 0.012 for the final install. I'm gonna see if I can tighten it up a little bit. So I feel like I'm in a pretty good spot right now. Gotta press the bearing on and then figure out the depth for the crush sleeve eliminator. Get that set up. Then reinstall the carrier, and then if everything fits up, remove the nut again, put some red Loctite on her, then take her down. At this stage, if you're feeling confident, you can go ahead and press the pinion bearing on. Now for my setup bearings that I made before, this is the ring that I'm gonna put in the press, and that's how I'm gonna press it down so it's touching on the inside of the race, not gonna damage the outside. Rings are set up. Just bringing it down. One thing with using a bottle jack or press is very dangerous. You have to realize that when enough is enough. So I'm pulling it. I can feel some resistance. I know that it's bottomed out. So now I can release that. And I should be good. Yeah, we're good. Now you gotta notice on the crush sleeve eliminator, there's a flat end and a tapered end. There's no real instructions, but I'm going to assume that that tapered end is going to fit like that, so that you're not going to be rubbing on the outside of that cage, where if you flipped it around like that, it's going to be touching. So I'm going to roll with the flat side down just like that. Can't forget new bearings. Got to give them a dab of oil. Set it up for real. Now the new bearing's gonna go on really tight. So this is how finicky it is. I just added a .010 shim because the last setup was bearing preload of 49 inch-pounds, which is too much. And this one here probably got like 0 inch-pounds, so I gotta see if I can remove .005 of a shim, and that should get me in spec now. And I'm about 29 inch-pounds rolling resistance, which is right at the very high end of the spec. So pinion preloads at the tight end and backlash is at the wide end. Check the pattern. I can start the lock. Pattern sitting okay. If anything, pinion might be a little on the deep end. Yeah. I'm gonna roll with that. Now that everything's good, take those all out. I need to Loctite them. I also just need to tap those shims in. Throw some blue Loctite on there. Torque. So in case you're wondering why the table didn't snap in half, I had the hydraulic ram in there putting support up in the middle. Otherwise that table probably would have buckled and landed on the ground, which would have been a sad day. Now I just need to take this off one last time, put the seal on, and we'll be good. Now to get that seal in, a couple things I like to do. I like to take some grease. And I like to put it in there. That way, when I'm tapping it in, there's less of a chance. I'm actually just gonna dump a little bit of oil in there. I also like to take some assembly grease like I got, put it on the surface that the shaft is going to be sitting. So I'm gonna place that right there like so. Couple ways you can do this. I just like to take my brass hammer, That already has oil on it, so I'm not too concerned. Not going to use the old nut. I have a new one here, right here. It's a stover, you could tell it's got that dent. I'm also going to use some red Loctite on the threads. All right. This red Loctite's like a gel. This comes out like a gel. There we go. Oops. Yeah, you want to be careful there. I want to squeeze that down as such. Thread my nut on by hand as far as it'll go. So since I have the crush sleeve eliminator, once it's tight, it's tight. Just as such, because you're not gonna go any further. Remember, somebody asked me once before. So I'm about 35 rolling resistance with the carrier in there. There you go. Shut her down. It is all installed, ready to get fit up underneath the TJ. And once it's fit up underneath the TJ, I can start putting like the brakes on it, run the brake lines, get ready to put the axles back in. But as of right now, everything is sitting right where I need it to do the setup. I am so glad that part's done, and I got hair horns again from the GoPro camera. Got my solar panel set up because I was charging the Delta after my recent trip that you guys are going to see pretty quick. Because I'm trying to, like I said before, trying to keep the Delta charged off of solar. Just kind of get a feeling of it. But I'm going to clean up everything. Everything's set up. Get the differential back on skates. Gonna be motherfucking beer time. Got the JK back inside, but pretty soon it's gonna be outside for a little bit. You know what time it is when the fridge opens up. Let's have this, oh yeah, let's grab one of these. Ones I picked up. Fernie Brewing Thunder Meadows IPA, 6.7%. All right, motherfucking beer time. BC Beer, Fernie Brew Company, Thunder Meadows IPA. I'm sure glad that that part of the project is done. I seem to struggle with that one there. Anyways, cheers, everybody. Maybe it's just the install kits I got, but instead of having like, you know, 0.010, 0.015, 0.020, 0.005, it'd be nice to have like a 0.0025, which if I would have went, probably I'm guessing another 0.0025 shallower on the pinion, I probably would have had it bang on. As of right now, I'm just slightly on the deep end. Really gonna have to watch the first few drives because that pinion preload is on the high end, backlash is on the loose end. Just the way things got set up. First few drives are gonna be critical. Things expand, shrink, heating and cooling. But after the first little bit, I think I should be good to go. Gonna start a few more projects before I bring the TJ in. I want to try to find a clock spring for the JK and the wrecker. I need to pre-build the lower control arms for the Jeep as well. Get that all set up. Maybe I'll finally be able to use that Evolution chop saw that I picked up a few months ago, never even taken out of the box yet. Anyways, I want to thank you guys for watching. This is probably a long video, but I'll see you guys in the next one.